Hi, welcome back. My name is Rika. In this series of videos, we are looking at HANA Cloud product in detail. Today's session, we're going to look at creating some more design time artifacts like calculation views for modeling purpose. In the previous session, we have created a table and CSV file and also table data design time artifacts to get the data into a database table in HDI container. In continuation to that, we're going to create some more objects in design time artifacts like creating a new table and also create a calculation view on top of the table. Okay, let's get started with that. So I'm going to create another table called purchase order. So I've got the syntax on my local machine. I'm going to grab this one for creating a purchase order table. I'm going into the source folder of the DB module and say new, and then it's a bit slow, new file, and then just going to give the name of the file as purchase order .hdb table. I'm going to copy paste the syntax for creating the table. Save it. I also create a CSV file design time artifact. A new file and then purchase order .csv. I also have this in some data records in my notepad file. I'm just going to copy those data records and paste it in the file. Saved, closing it. So I'm going to need a HDB table data file to load the data from CSV file to the table. So I'm going to do source folder again and choose new file and say purchase order. This time it is going to be HDB table data file. It's going to be a JSON syntax, just like the way in the previous session we created the table for employee. I'm just going to do this one here. And then it is the target table is the purchase order, and then the purchase order CSV file is the source file, and then the mappings are given in here. I'm going to save that here. And then I start building the DB module. And selecting the entire DB module and say build. So with that build completion, I will be getting another table with data in the same HDI container of created for core DB application module. Now the build process has been completed. I can see that there's a new table in my schema, or the HDI container schema. I can go to the tables in the container. Should be able to see the purchase order table. Also wanted to see the data. Just say open data, and you will be able to see the data in there. Now what I'm going to do, I will create a calculation view on top of these tables as part of design time artifact, which is going to get created inside the container, which is unlike the way it used to be in HANA Studio, where all the calculation views are created or owned by sysbig schema and the activation user is sysrepo. But in HDI container or in XSA or Cloud Foundry, the calculation views are going to be owned by the container itself, the place where these calculation views are created, the DB module, and that is going to be the schema owner for the calculation views. Now we're going to notice that after creating the calculation view in this example. So before I start creating a calculation view, I wanted to enable some settings in the Web IDE full stack, since this is first time I'm accessing the modeling tools. So let me see HANA tools are enabled. The first one I'm going to enable is database development tools. I'm going to switch on them. And also I wanted to see my database explorer is active or not. This is here, and just activate and save it. So it's going to reload the web IDE full stack for me. So it's to not affect the changes I've made in the settings. Reload is completed. I can go to developer workspace and start creating a calculation view in my source folder of the DB module. You can say new calculation view. I'm going to name this as a purchase order CV. I'm not giving any namespace, and this is going to be a cube type data category. Say OK. I'm going to get to the graphical editor of the CV. The creation process of CV is very similar to what we used to have in Studio. There is no difference in terms of the features and the properties of the CV, just that the layout is different in Web IDE versus HANA Studio. And also, of course, there are some more new functionalities introduced as part of Web IDE tooling for creating a calculation using graphical editor, which you don't see them in HANA Studio. So if you wanted to get those features, then you must use Web IDE full stack, or the future business application studio will definitely have them. So I'm going to grab a projection into my workspace of the calculation view. I can add a table here. So I'm going to add a table called purchase order, which is just created and built. So you're going to see the schema name as codedb_1. That is the HDI container schema there. Say finish. So I got the fields. And I'm going to double click and then see the columns to be moved to output columns. So for that I can select the header and then say add to output. So all the columns are mapped and projected as output columns as part of the result of the projection. So you can also have a filters and also have some formulas defined in here. In this example I'm not doing that. So I'm going to go close this one, and I'm going to say, attach this projection to an aggregation node, and I'll do the same thing here as well. So I'll do add to output, so mappings configure, and then I can check the final mappings in the semantics tab of the calculation view. So you can see there are some measures which have the default aggregation to sum, and the other ones categorized as dimensions for the CV. We'll save that, and then I'm going to build the module entirely, or I can actually simply do the calculation itself and then build select file. So now the build is being completed. We are able to create a calculation view in a HDI container successfully. So if I wanted to see the data, I can open the data preview of the calculation view, and it is it's runtime preview for you. It's taken you to the database explorer. That's where the runtime objects exist, and you can see that the data output from the calculation. We wanted to see the SQL which is created for the displaying the data. This is the select statement from CoreDB schema of the CV. Previously, in the past in HANA Classic, you used to see sysbig schema for all the CVs in the system. But in this HDI infrastructure architecture, you're always going to find the schema name of the place where you're working in the CV is going to associate it with that. It's all about creating a CV. It has a design time artifact in DB module, which is going to be created as a runtime object as part of HDI infrastructure. That's all for today's session. And the next session we will focus on HDI container, administration of HDI container, and different access scenarios of HDI containers in detail. Thanks for watching. If you wanted to get a detailed training on these topics, you can reach out to sarumpalias@gmail.com. Thank you. Bye for now.